Short week for a very, very strong November. Let's summarize the month of November, talk a bit about December that is just upon us, and look at everything that happened in the last week from a news perspective. So hello, everyone. My name is Micha Stocks, and on this channel, we talk about stocks, we talk about investments, and a quick reminder that everything and anything that you see is not financial advice. It's just for educational and entertainment purpose only. This is the channel, currently 4.8k subscribers. You're more than welcome to subscribe to the channel and, of course, turn notifications on. Let's dive in. This is the month of November for the major averages. The Russell, one of the best Russell months in ages, 11%. S&P 500 up almost 6%. NASDAQ up 5.35%. This, of course, impacted the indices themselves. You can see the XLY, which is the consumer discretionary, up 12.9%. XLF, the financials, up another 10%, which is, again, very, very strong month. And also the energy, up 7.9%, mainly due to natural gas. You'll see it in a second. But November would be the month that the crypto community would remember. After the halving, almost 6 months after the halving that happened, finally, the crypto market is on fire. Bitcoin up 38% for the month, and Ethereum up 46.3% for the month. Energy sector, you can see natural gas up 24%. The rest didn't really do anything, and gold and silver wasn't a strong week for these commodities, or strong month, sorry, for these commodities. And when you look at the Magnificent Seven, you can see very clearly that there was one that was magnificent, which is Tesla, up 38% for the month, while the others a bit less. And again, put it in perspective, Amazon up 11.5% for the week, Apple up 5% for the week, and Microsoft up, and Nvidia up 4% for the week. And by end of November, Apple back being the biggest company in the S&P 500. You can see now, let's talk about the news of the week. 53 all-time highs for the S&P 500. If you remember the saying, an all-time high creates another all-time high, creates another all-time high, creates another all-time high. And you can see it on this chart, 53 all-time highs for the S&P 500. We had a core PCE this week. Didn't see too much. It was pretty much as expected. During the month of December, we have another probably rate cut. Currently, everything is supporting another rate cut. This is the biggest announcement for the market this week. Trump's pick for treasury. Scott Bessent, very, very pro-market. And as it seems right now, Trump presidency, at least at the beginning of them, should be a very, very strong tailwind for the markets. The reason for that, Scott Bessent, if you don't know, was the founder and chief executive officer of Key Square Group, a hedge fund. He knows the markets. Trump values the market. He wants to see the market going up. So for us being in the stock market, only good news so far. Scott Bessent believes in the 3-3-3 policy. He wants to reduce the deficit by 3%. He wants the GDP to grow for at least 3% and to produce at least 3 million barrels of oil, which means lower gas prices or lower oil prices, which impacts inflation, lower deficit, of course, better on taxes in the future, and a strong GDP automatically upgrades the PE. And when you have a higher PE, a higher multiple on stocks, market keeps going up. Trump wants to add additional 10% tariffs for China and 25% tariffs for Canada and Mexico. We will see kind of how this trade war will develop itself in the next few months, and will it impact the markets. MicroStrategy keeps raising money and buying more Bitcoins. They now own billions of dollars in Bitcoin, while they believe that they're creating more value by holding more Bitcoin and basically creating that floor for Bitcoin by keep buying in very, very huge amounts. NNE, Nano Nuclear Energy, raised $60 million. And if you're involved in the nuclear kind of stocks, this put a bit of cold water on the whole trade because they raised the money in a lower price than they were trading. Amgen says their obesity drug, or actually injection, is creates only 20% weight loss. The market didn't like that because Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk today have the same percentage. So why do we need another company? Amgen is going ahead with their phase 3. Hopefully they'll see better results, and that, of course, will create that change in direction of the stock. Palantir changed their trading from the New York Stock Exchange to the Nasdaq Exchange. This opens the door for Palantir to be added to the Nasdaq 100, the QQQ. And if you're using charting platforms, you might have lost Palantir in your radar because it changed basically the underlying exchange. You just need to refresh it and it will come back. Rivian secures a $6.6 billion loan from the government to build a plant in Georgia. Intel secures an $8 billion from the market, from the White House to build chip plants as well. Microsoft, or the antitrust watchdog, is launching a broad investigation against Microsoft cloud services. They think that Microsoft is using their power and they want to eliminate that. Chinese ship crew suspected of deliberately dragging anchor for 100 miles to cut the Baltic cables. Now look, I have an experience being in the Israeli Navy. No doubt this is very, very strange. Dragging an anchor for 100 miles? Who does that unless there's a fraudulent attempt there? It's very, very interesting what the Chinese are trying to do. Basically cut the internet from areas of the world. And someone that wants to connect the internet is Meta. They're planning to spend $10 billion to build another undersea fiber optic cable around the world. You should tell them that if the Chinese drag the anchor for 100 miles, they might cut it. Crazy times, I'm telling you. And Adobe Analytics expect customers to spend a record $10.8 billion online in Black Friday, and that's up 9.9% year over year, almost 10%. Last but not least, Boeing CEO, the new Boeing CEO, looks at the expenses of the company and says, what is going on? The stock is falling. We are in a huge trouble, but executives, they're using private jets like there's no tomorrow. He says, no, that is not going to proceed. And you can see in the last 2 months since he stepped into office, look how the private jets. So probably the executives there are less happy from him, but shareholders are starting to see the light, maybe, with Boeing stock. Let's talk about next week, or actually next month. So we're entering December. December, statistically, historically, is a strong month. It's one of the strongest months in the market. So from that perspective, you should be relaxed. But usually, the first 2 weeks are more on the red side because of tax loss selling. People are selling stocks at the beginning of the month. Usually that creates selling pressure. But once it eases, the market drifts, especially when people are chasing till the end of the year. This year, we also have $7 trillion of cash on the sidelines. That might also create that tailwind for the market. So how do we cope with it? Week by week, month by month. This is how the earnings will look next week. We have Zscaler on Monday. Tuesday, we will have Salesforce, Okta, Marvell, and Box. Wednesday, we will have Chewy, Foot Locker, Dollar Tree, Five Below, American Eagle, and Sentinel One. Thursday, we will get Dollar General, TD Bank, and Lululemon, UiPath, Alta, DocuSign. And on Friday, very small companies. We're at the end of the earnings season anyway. Special events, actually, there's a lot of Fed talk during the week. And on, if I remember correctly, Wednesday, we will get the beige book, the Fed beige book. We will understand how they see the market itself. And on Friday, we will get the US jobs report for November. That brings us again to the 53 times we had an all-time high. Will we have more during December? The assumption is yes, we will, because all-time high creates all-time high, creates all-time high, creates all-time high. That brings us to the chart. represented by Japanese candlesticks of the S&P 500. The light blue line is the 20-day moving average. The reason why I raised it is because if we want to look at shorter time frames, we need to go down on shorter moving averages. And as you can see, we're a bit far from the 20-day moving average. We might drift all the way to 6,100 and then correct, but the correction is in the cards, especially after so many green days. Correction to around 6,000 will make a lot of, 5,900 would make a lot of sense. Even lower than that, 5,850 would be a great buying opportunity, at least for the short term. And again, this is not financial advice. This is how I read the chart. So 61 would be kind of the top level, and 5,850 would be kind of the bottom level, at least for the week, unless there's something a lot more drastic than we don't know about. That's all I had to say. I'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. Weekly summary. Till next time. Bye-bye.